Mornings with Simi, presented by Alpine Credits. So the votes are being finalized in many ridings today with our BC election, but there are a lot of eyes this morning on the riding of Juan de Fuca-Malahat, where the NDP candidate is ahead by about 113 votes, ahead, I should say, of the BC Conservative candidate there, Marina Sapozhnikov. And boy, did this story take a turn the last few days. Turns out, on election night, a student reporter, Aliana Latsanik, spent some time with Sapozhnikov. And during their interview, the Conservative candidate offered up thoughts on Indigenous history, reconciliation, and more. Wasn't asked questions specifically about this, but kind of started just musing out loud. Now, the audio from the interview was provided to the Vancouver Sun. They broke the story. You can go to vancouversun.com to read all about it, but have a listen to some of it.
Indigenous people, they were hunters and gatherers. They make them some enlightened people. They didn't have writing. They didn't have alphabet. They tell you that they have some foods made of wheat. They didn't have wheat. They didn't grow anything. They didn't have any sophisticated laws. They were savages. They fought each other all the time.
That was just a warm-up. Now, BC Conservative leader John Rustad said he was appalled and deeply saddened by her remarks, but really that's about it. This is someone who's only about 100 votes away from actually being elected. We're going to talk more about that this morning. Chief Clarence Louie is with us now, the tribal chair of the SYILX Okanagan Nation. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
What did you think when you heard some of those comments?
I was wondering what decade are we in? What year are we in? I mean, that talk comes from the 1800s when we were called savages. I mean, yeah, the founder of this country, or the father of this country, John A. Macdonald, called us savages, sent us to residential school, and now his statues are coming down because of using that word. You know, that's kind of like using the N-word. What would happen to a candidate if they used the N-word? And to hear a candidate call us savages? I'd like her to come to the Sioux Senior Reserve and call us savages.
Now, Chief Louie, what kind of reaction have you gotten from other people? Like, what have you been hearing from the community about this?
Come to our reserves and call us savages. Anybody. You know, it's just so blatant racist, and for a racist to be part of a party. I mean, who chooses these people? Who picks them?
Have you heard anything from the BC Conservatives on this?
Zero. You know, I just can't believe that word is being used. You know, what would happen if a grade school teacher used that word? Or anybody in public service? They'd get their ass fired.
So what do you do with something like this, right? Like, here you have somebody who clearly made it past the vetting process, was on the ballot, almost got elected, 113 votes away from that. We're still waiting for the final result on that. Like, what do you do?
Well, first of all, you got to fire them. I mean, that's without even a thought. I mean, people get fired for saying less. I mean, Don Cherry, an icon in Hockey Night in Canada, he got fired for saying no as people. And this candidate goes out and calls First Nations people savages. I mean, what era is this woman living in?
So what is your message then to John Rustad here?
Well, obviously that, you know, the vetting process didn't work. I mean, how many other candidates call First Nations people savages? This one just happened to do it because somebody interviewed her. You know, we know as First Nations people that systemic racism still exists in all institutions in this country. The stats prove that. You know, there is systemic racism throughout the whole system, always has been. But of course, the oppressors don't notice it, they don't acknowledge it, and for a candidate to call us savages, you know. This lady has to own those words. There is no going back. No more apologies. This lady has to own those words and live with them the rest of her life because she thinks we're savages in this. British Columbia has the most Indian reserves and has the most First Nations, and there's candidates out there still calling us savages.
So, Chief Louie, then moving forward, then what is your message to the BC Conservatives to say? Will you meet with this person? Will you meet with John Rustad? Like, what do you do?
Well, I would like his candidate first to come and meet the chiefs of BC. Come on to my reserve and meet with my grade school kids, the ones you call savages. And even if she tries to downplay it like she has been, saying, well, I'm calling your ancestors. I'm not calling the First Nations nowadays savages. Well, you're calling my ancestors savages? You're calling the kids on every reserve their ancestors savages? I mean, what kind of racist people are in government now?
Right. So there's still, I guess, time here. This person wasn't necessarily elected, right? So will there be, do you think, repercussions for this? Will you talk to other Indigenous leaders about this?
Oh, of course. I mean, and like I say, it's like using the N-word, right? I mean, this doesn't go away. You know, this person just happened to get caught. And we know there's still racism in this province. We know it's throughout the system. And it's good that over the last many years, truth and reconciliation is a buzzword now. Everyone says they're practicing. Every government says they believe in truth and reconciliation. Even the Conservatives are saying that. Rustad is saying that. Now, it's fine to say it, but man, you got to put it into action.
Chief Louie, we appreciate your time on that this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. That is Chief Clarence Louie, Tribal Chair of the SYILX Okanagan Nation, reacting, and you can tell, very emotionally to that story that broke this weekend, where you have a BC Conservative candidate, Juan de Fuca-Malahat, right now behind in the race by 113 votes. But talking openly to a Vancouver Island University student who was interviewing her on election night and just saying really awful things about Indigenous people in BC, and like wasn't asked about it. There was no gotcha interview here. Just started talking and kept on talking. And it really is so shocking. So again, story broken by the Vancouver Sun. You can go to vancouversun.com to read more about it. But, you know, we had John Rustad saying he was appalled and deeply saddened. But that's it. Is that enough? This is somebody who had made it through the vetting process in your party. Were you okay with that? Still a member of the party? So, yeah, there'll be more to come on that story today for sure.